Hello everybody, we are going to be reacting to myself today, and my name is Ginger, whatever you would like, and today we are watching myself play Fight of the Forge. There aren't any really guides, both internet or video, that I actually gelled with or thought went well, so I'm going to be reacting to my own thing and giving a little bit more commentary, a little bit more guidance, and a little bit more in-depth. If you want a bit more natural commentary, this video is still up, and it will always be up. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not going to take it down for any reason, so don't worry. But it can be that the information on there may be a little bit more sparse, and so this is just a little bit more in depth. It sounds very narcissistic reacting to my own video. I am going to have Age of Mythology music in the background as well, but I'm going to be pausing and playing this a lot more. Mainly because if you feel like this is supportive and this is helpful to you, I'm so thrilled it is. And if you want me to do more videos like this, I'm more than happy to. On other campaigns that you'd like me to dissect a bit more, I'm more than happy to do that. But hopefully this, if you are struggling with this one, this might help a little bit more. So, let's play. I'm going to have my cursor on the screen just so you can see what's happening. So, first of all, we're going to get E-Tree to go down and gather, Brock to go and gather gold. Very important. We are then going to get all our dwarves to gather wood as we get our Heroes of Ragnarok to build a town centre. The reason why we're going to collect 8 dwarfs on wood is because in Norse, it costs wood to build longhouses, houses, armories, docks, fishing ships. I mean, it does in most other civilizations as well, apart from Egyptians, but it's important. We are going to be reducing throwing axemen as well, a lot of them. So it's important that we have enough wood to be able to afford all of those without much difficulty. We are playing as Loki. Loki has a lower gather rate for dwarves because Thor has a boosted one. So just keep that in mind as well. We aren't doing it specifically because dwarves are bad at gathering wood, which they are. They just don't have the boost as normal. There is a lot of gold in this map, so it's important that we use dwarves over gatherers because there isn't that much food, which is why we are having to rely on fishing ships for food. And we are going to explore later on and find that there are lots of fishing places, but they're not particularly great. Would you like to play? Thank you. So we're then going to get the ox cart, and then we're going to get the wood and gold upgrades. The reason why it's important to have both those upgrades is... Am I going at normal speed or am I going at double? It's normal, okay. The reason why we get the wood upgrade first is because wood is the cheaper one of the two, first of all. But also we are getting 8 people on to cut wood. So it's really important that we get that upgrade first. The gold upgrade will come in time, but we need our town centre to go up and produce more dwarves before we're going to see an effect from that. So it is important we get the wood upgrade first, because then we can also then start to researching the second wood upgrade. We're then going to get our Jarl to go on some scouting. There are 3 relics. There is one here. There is one just below the camp around about here. And there is one on the way to the forge. So we're going to get these 2 scouted. And then we're going to send them up. The reason why we're going to send them up is because up there is a dock that we can just destroy. And it makes it really easy. That stops food being produced for E-Tree. And that means that we can actually save some fights coming towards us if we destroy those docks. So, this relic is human soldiers are more resistant to pierce attacks. That is not a useful relic for us. If we think about all the units that fight in... what is it clicking on up there? I do not know. Oh, that's fine. If we think about all the relics that we have... all the attacks that come from Norse soldiers... The only ranged one actually comes from a unit that wasn't actually included in this one, which is an archer that was added after the fact of this thing. And the thing about Age of Mythology campaigns is that even if they rebalance later down the line, so for example, they've made heroes slightly weaker in the Greek campaigns, in the Greek random maps. For example, that's not a case, but let's say for this instance it is. When you actually use the heroes in the campaigns, like the ones you get from a town centre, they will be the same level that they were before. So if they were over if they were nerfed, you will have the stronger version when you're doing the campaigns. This is because the campaigns have been specially curated to make sure that you are able to do those. And if they were to rebalance it for online players or for random maps later down the line, it can actually throw all the other campaigns out of whack, and means that the units and the strategies that we used before may not be able to do. And on Titan, you may not be even able to win anymore. So that's why in the random maps you have a healer, where in Greek, but you don't in the campaigns, because it wasn't there at the time that they produced it. So they don't have, the AI doesn't tend to produce the archers from the Norse campaign, so it's not really important to get this relic. The only thing that will protect them against is towers. There aren't that many towers to grant this from actually being used. We might as well just get the armory upgrades. So when the town centre is mostly completed, we're just going to get some... So there's a pop-up here, I'll talk about that in just a second. We're going to get some of our Heroes of Ragnarok to come and build a dock. Because we need to start getting food, and that's how we're going to get food. Because as well as throwing axemen, we are going to want to produce a few wolf sarks and maybe gatherers as well. So it's important that we make sure that we are gathering as much food as possible as well. That's how we advance through the ages. So it does say there's not much food in the caves, mostly bears and cave fish. Bears will attack, and if there are more than one bear that attacks the dwarfs or the people at the time, we could lose some dwarfs, which is not what we really want to do. And they may have another dwarf that's another bear that starts to decay and starts to lose some of the goodness that comes, the food that goes from there. So it's not something we really want to use. So we are going to rely on fish. So when the other heroes are finished, they will come down and go and build the dock. So the reason we're producing Ulfsark here is to actually build buildings. So heroes, in my experience, tend to build slower than Ulfsarks and throwing axemen. So we're producing an Ulfsark to help build buildings, to help scout out, to help attack things and destroy docks. We don't need many of them, but we can use the Ulfsarks to produce buildings. Our heroes are actually going to go around and kill some myth units, and also destroy some docks. So it's important that we have the Ulfsark there to help produce that as well. We're also going to get an ox cart for the gold and more dwarfs for the gold, because Eitri went all the way up there for the ox cart, which obviously isn't advisable. So it's just to collect that faster. That's what we're doing. To collect gold faster, we're just going to put a dwarf on there, an ox cart on there. So we're going to get our Heroes of Ragnarok to come down near to the forge, because there is a dock there we can help destroy. And we're going to produce some fishing ships to help gather that initial food. And we're going to get the second wood upgrade as well, because wood is something that we're already short of, and it's something that we desperately need to get. So there's the other relic, which is the second relic that we've seen. Archers, ballista trolls, and centaurs are cheaper. Now, we haven't produced a temple. We don't know what myth units we can produce. With the god powers at the top, which the more you play campaigns, the more you actually realise that that's probably nothing to do with the myth units you can create. We don't know actually if that's going to be a unit that we can create. So for now, we're not going to pick that up because we don't have archers. We have ballista, but again, we're not going to produce those for a long while. So we're just building up our economy here and getting the fishing ships and dwarfs out. And here we can see another dock. So you can see by the map, it is very close to the forge. So this is where the first dock is that we can destroy. And the less food that they have, the less food income they have, that means the less soldiers they can send our way and help defend the forge with. So you can see that the relic is quite far down, and we missed it with our Jarl, so we need to make sure we're looking at that relic, because it can be important. And also I want to show you, in case you think it's important. So this is improved line of sight for all units, and this is relatively useful for the scouting that we'll be doing, but ultimately it's not massively imperative, so it's not something that we need to go and get. It's just going to be an okay one. So, by destroying a dock, it does mean that we capture some of the fishing boats, so we need to build a dock there in order to collect it. We're not massively pressed about this food one because our dock is going to get destroyed, but we are going to see if we can sneakily build a dock. The reason why I'm going to the top and not the side is because if we look at where the fishing ships are, they are not all grouped together in a corner, so there isn't a reason to put a dock there. If we actually put a dock in the middle of it, it just means there's a faster food income, and also it means that when Eitri soldiers come over to attack us, they aren't going to go for the dock immediately. We are going to send our Heroes of Ragnarok down, because there is another dock down there, and there are also trolls there. We need to make sure we are getting the fishing ships to fish the fish that is fishing the fishing spots that is near the dock, just to increase the food income. But obviously there is a lot more fishing ships than fishing spots there, so there may be one that has to go a bit further away, and that's absolutely fine. Make sure you use all the fishing spots that are here, and so here you can see there are trolls. Heroes tend to do about 2 times the damage to myth units and receive about half damage. And normal soldiers receive more damage than heroes do. So it's important to send your heroes down there just so they can kill the trolls, and we're not losing any of them, or losing a minimal amount of them. So there is the other fishing place. Dock, that's the word I was looking for. So we're going to get our Jarl to just destroy that. Again, it's not imperative, we don't need to do it quickly, but the faster we can do it, the better. So we're going to build a longhouse that's quite close to the forge. The reason is because we don't need to defend our town centre, they're not always going to be there. If we can stop them before they go there by building the longhouse here and producing an army there, it does help out. So there's a dock there, we're going to get our Heroes of Ragnarok to destroy that. And the reason why we're being attacked on our town centre, if you did see that, there was a bear there as well. Then we're going to produce houses as well, because we don't want to get housed for the dwarves. We want to make sure we've got as many coming out as we can. And any time we destroy a dock, because we capture fishing ships, we want to build a dock there as well. Because we've got 2 docks up, it doesn't really matter where we put this, as long as it's a usable dock. Purely and simply because we've already got 2 of the docks open, and we've tried to optimize those. So we've got a lot of food coming in now. And we've not had to produce the wood to produce those fishing ships as well. So it means that we've saved a bit of resources. So we're going to send all but 2 of the soldiers back up, or the heroes back up, and then the heroes are now going to build walls, just to kind of protect this dock a little bit more. Now, because they've got the god power undermined, we are going to have to change how we do work that, which we'll show in a minute. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to get medium infantry, and the reason is because we've got an Ulfsark, it's not upgraded. And it will just mean that Ulfsark is stronger, so any Ulfsarks that we create or throwing axemen that we create are stronger. We also want to save up as much wood as we can because we want to completely smash out those throwing axemen. So by getting the medium infantry first, it does mean we're a little bit stronger. We then produce a second longhouse because we want to produce as many throwing axemen as we can, as quick as we can. So having a second longhouse will help. And we're seeing that actually we've got 11 dwarfs mining for gold. We've got 17 fishing ships, and we've only got 8 on wood. As dwarfs are faster at gathering gold than they are at wood or food, we need to make sure that we have got more on wood than on gold if possible. Or equal amounts is fine. So we want our Ulfsark to build as many houses as we can as well, and an armory, just so we can make sure that all of them are stronger, and then produce throwing axemen just on repeat. The reason why throwing axemen are so good is they are actually a counter to infantry and heroes. They have hack attack from afar, so that means that they've got a little bit of range in their hack attacks, so it means they are actually a really, really strong unit. The reason why we've got the 2 houses and the armory at the back as well is they are not producing any units, so we don't need to have them at the front lines. We want to produce houses first, because we don't want to get housed when reducing these throwing axemen and dwarfs, and then we're going to build the armory, because we don't need the armory upgrade straight away. We are then going to get our Heroes of Ragnarok to produce a temple, because myth units will help out as well. So that's hacking away on there, so that's doing some damage, which is good. So we're already housed, so it's really important that we were building those houses from that Ulfsark. And you can see here that we are wanting to space out the walls. The reason why you space out the walls is because if you've never played Norse, or if you've never worshipped Heimdall, or never had the Undermine god power, you probably don't know it's actually a very small area it affects all the towers and the walls in that very small area. It's a very, very small god power area effect. So if you space out your walls when it comes to Norse, if they have the Undermine god power, it means they're not going to break down both of them. They'll only need to break down one of the walls. So if we space them out, it just means the Undermine god power is a lot less useful than here. Another reason why oh god, that was a voice crack then, wasn't it? The other reason why we're wanting to, we're not worried about dwarves as much in terms of gold. If you look to the left of the map here, you'll see there is dwarven mines. So dwarven mines are often mines found in underworld maps or underworld campaigns, and they dwarves gather faster from there than ordinary gold mines. So when it comes to having to send our dwarves to other places to mine gold that isn't in the main camp, if they do go on the dwarven mines, they will gather that faster. And we also have the dwarven mine god power, so we can produce one of our own that is more resources later down the line, going from 500 in the first age to 1,000 in the second age, 3,000 in the heroic, and 6,000 in the classic. As dwarves gather faster on that, we're not really worried about gold, which is why we're not going to have to adjust how many people we've got on gold going forward, but we do need to prioritize wood, because we don't have the Gaia wood power, which allows people to gather wood faster. I'm going into so much detail, I'm really sorry. We want to produce our healing spring that's close to where the fighting is going to be, and also to heal our Heroes of Ragnarok. So that relic as well that we saw that said that archers, ballista, trolls and centaurs are cheaper are not going to be useful, because unlike the god power of healing spring that we've got, we've actually worshipped Heimdall in the myth unit department, which is why we can only produce the giants, I'm not going to pronounce their name, that are really going to get buildings and raise morale when they blow their horn. So we are not going to have the use of that relic, because archers we're not going to need, ballista we're not really going to need at this specific time, so it's not a relic we need to include. So, by building an armory, we can advance to the next stage, and we are very close to, in gold, advancing to the next stage, but we can also see we're at 10 people on wood, and we're really struggling. Another negative thing is E-Tree has just got the Ship of Fingernails, which does give a very slow resource, but it's unlimited free food. So we just want that armory up quicker, so we're just going to send our throwing axemen that are being produced to go there and build it, and we're also going to get the upgrade for our myth units and produce. No, we're not apparently. Thought we were. I thought we were going to. We are going to produce some heroes, hussars, because the Heroes of Ragnarok don't last long, and the hero that they gave us at the beginning of the game are very squishy. And then we are also, as in they don't have a lot of health, they're better at collecting resources. And then we're going to produce more houses, because already we're nearly housed. We're going to go advance to the next stage, and we're going to go with Bragi. The reason why we're going to go with Bragi is that Battle Boar is extremely good against a lot of units. It also produces stronger on our... it uses gold, and gold is going to be a much more free resource than potentially food would be. Less so, but still a free resource, because dwarves gather it from faster and there's loads of gold on the map, whereas although the food is infinite, it's not necessarily guaranteed if they destroy all our docks, you know? Also, the Ulfsark, they do get upgrades with the Battle Boar, and we with Bragi, and we do get the Flaming Weapons, which is better than Walking Trees, especially in Underworld maps. And the Underworld upgrades, upgrades we would have got from Njord, are to help with Hill Fort. We're not going to be producing Hill Fort units, because we're mainly just going to be producing Throwing Axemen. And furthermore, the the Kraken is going to be a wasted god power or myth unit. So in theory, a lot of what Najord is going to provide is not as helpful as Bragi. So we're going to go with Bragi on this one. We want to get the copper mail first, and then copper weapons. Copper mail is cheaper than weapons, and if you spoke to any professional players not that I am a professional player, but if you spoke to any professional players to play Age of Empires, it's better to have the armor first, then damage. We want to produce a tower as well, because it just helps us out a little bit more with pierce attacks and just a little bit of damage. So it's really useful to produce that, but it's not a necessity thing to get out straight away, obviously, because it's quite wood intensive, and I would rather produce houses for now. Make sure that you are constantly positioning your ox cart. It's one of the benefits of Norse. You're always going to have a more optimal resource gathering because it's movable. So make sure that you're constantly moving the ox cart up to the wood line to increase the amount of wood you're gathering, so that it lessens the space the dwarfs have to move. Now, we've just destroyed that dock, and we're not necessarily going to need to produce another dock straight away because we've already got 17 fishing ships. Although I don't know if it's just class the other ones, but we're really strong on food, so it's not a necessity to get out straight away. So if you are struggling with wood, I would just destroy the fishing ships because they're not useful. Even without that, we've still got 17 fishing ships, so we've got plenty of wood gathering. So here there is a battle. Because we've just advanced and gone to the next stage, a priority should be to get medium infantry. It just means that they can survive a little bit more against the people that they're fighting, which is mainly heroes because they're fighting Loki as well, and myth units. So we need to produce throwing axes because they will help with the heroes, and then we need to produce heroes to destroy the myth units. We could also produce Jarls, but the problem with getting Jarls as well as heroes is heroes are food and wood, food and gold. Jarls, we would have to create a hill fort and then actually research the upgrades for cavalry as well. So it's really not advisable to do that. Except we're going to do that anyway, but at the minute it's not a necessity. If you are struggling with resources for whatever reason, that's not a necessity, so you don't need to do that. You want to get the gold and the wood upgrades as and when you can. So when you have done an attack, make sure you retreat where you're in safe distance of the healing spring, just so you can actually heal up and look after your troops. We want to produce a market just so we can go to the next stage as fast as we can. And now we're going to want to produce Ulfsarks. The reason is because they are going to, again, be really good against heroes. But also it means that if they produce cavalry, which they are going to, we're covered on that one as well. So we want to get to Hill Fort pretty quickly because it's ranged attack, but also gives us other units as well, such as Jarls, which are, again, really good against myth units, and they're quite bulky. So produce them where you can, and a sentry tower as well, so we can get guard tower, and then we can get burning oil and crenellations, which I think does triple damage towards cavalry. So because we've got loads of food income, and we're gonna get the food increases for ships, we want to make sure that we are selling our food, because that is our abundant resource at the minute for gold, which is our non-abundant resource. I think it's one of the slowest that is produced. So we're almost building a house wall at the top. It's not really a wall per se, but it can be classed as that if you'd like to. So now we've got the sentry tower up. We want to see if we can upgrade it to watchtower, not guard tower. I do apologize. So you can see already they're starting to produce some raiding cavalry. So it's important that we produce all sucks to counter that, because they've got throwing axemen. So, what they call cavalry is going to be good against those, as well as our own throwing axemen. And the producing raiding cavalry, which all sucks are there for, and then the throwing axemen are also going to be good against heroes as well. And Kuro's throwing axemen always throw it. They can't do it point blank range. They've got to use some range. When we are producing these throwing axemen and getting them to, you know, throw the axe at the men, it does mean that I'm just gonna bring the music back to actually Age of Mythology music. I do apologize. I've been doing this a while. Right. There you go. Awesome. So, the hill fort, because throwing axemen always attack at range, hill forts and towers, when they fire, they can always attack throwing axemen, so it really will help thin the crowd, even if everyone is gathered very close to the hill fort or the tower. The reason why I'm trying to get rid of the throwing axemen first over the hero is because throwing axemen counter throwing axemen, so we could lose a lot more of, if we didn't have the hill fort kill that faster, our throwing axemen could have died a lot quicker. We may have lost a few more throwing axemen. So now the upgrades on there has taken place on the tower. We want to get burning oil first. This is because if everything is bundled underneath the tower or the hill fort, it means that at least we can still do damage. They've gone under tire, which is dreadful for us, because their god power is, say it with me together, Thumbelwinter. And that way, what that does, if you are inexperienced in that one, is it causes snow to fall over all the town centres, and causes walls to appear that do a hell of a lot of damage against the buildings and against the units, your villagers. So as soon as they've got into that age, retreat, ring your bell, get everyone get in there. Hopefully at this point you should have enough to advance to yourself. Now, we're going to have a look at which one we're going to do for here. So we're just going to go back a bit more. I've gone up too far back, haven't I? Yeah, I have, yeah. Ring the bell and hell. So let's look at the two of these. So, Tia we'll look at first. So we could also use Thumbelwinter, and that could stop their economy. It's not really going to be that big of a deal. It's not going to be that helpful to us. The Fenris Wolf Brood is a really good myth unit if you've got lots of them, because their attack varies with how many walls they've got in the pack. We've then got the Jormund Elva, which is a naval myth unit. We're not going to need that myth unit, so it is a wasted ability to have a myth unit, similar to a Kraken. Bravery and Berserker Gang are both to deal with your infantry, such as your Ulfsarks, your Huskars, I believe. And it's not really going to be, I think it's mainly your Ulfsarks. Because we're wanting throwing axemen as well, we don't really want either of those. Whereas Hel, she gives you the access to the god power Nidhogg, which is really useful. It goes crush. It's a flying enemy, so it lasts for a long time. It gives you Fire Giant, which is one of the best myth units in the Norse campaign, in the Norse, in the Norse, just full stop. And it does use gold, but it does hack damage from afar, so it's really, really useful, because hack damage, people are often a little weaker to. Mountain Giant, which we didn't research previously, because we knew we were going to get Hel, so we're not losing out the Mountain Giant from the previous age either. And Frost Giant, which are, Mountain Giants are healthy anyway, they're chunky. And frost giants freeze certain units so they can attack. So they're really, all three of them are really, really useful and massively need to be part of our team. Rampage allows you to search them, research them immediately, and our other upgrade increases all the HP of all the giants. So really, really useful. Hal is probably one of the best minor gods you can do. And there we go. Winter has started. So at this point we have got all our villagers in. Our our ox carts aren't, but with Loki they are half price and they move a hell of a lot faster. So if we do lose them, it's not the end of the world because it's half the price, so it's all good. The bonus about fishing ships as well over farms is that they don't actually need to get called in. So when Winter is taking place, they are safe in the water. They're not going to get attacked. So it's more beneficial in us to do that rather than to research and look after them rather than get farms. Here we are starting to reduce the amount of units because we've got a good mix. And get the upgrade. So the upgrade we've gone for first is it increases the attack, the bonus damage that our Olsocs do against cavalry, I believe. So Brock is a hero. He's not going to get called in, but you can see there's a lot of wolves, and they are nasty and do a lot of damage. So we have we're just going to get 2 ox carts back, and we can send the villagers out as soon as Winter is over, or just about to be, maybe about a second left. Because the wolves will die immediately. So again, I'm going to want copper weapons. The reason why copper weapons is so good is building ships and people all do 1 more damage. So it's a really, really useful ability. And we can see they've got Legendary Jarl and Champion Raiding Cavalry, and they're going to attack our dock, which isn't really what we want to do. So we need to go there and with our Olsocs and kill, and we need crenellations now because it's really important. As soon as we get the Nidhogg ability, get that out as well, and we can then start killing, because it does do splash damage to the Nidhogg. So it's a really, really useful one. We're going to get some fire giants out because they can attack from afar, so they're not in a choke point. They've got longer range than throwing axemen as well, so they can really stay out of there. So get our ox carts into their relevant positions. For some reason, it's almost as though with dwarfs, I've noticed this, and gatherers, it's almost when they start gathering, they look at the nearest resource that's there, resource drop-off point that's there, and if the ox cart is going towards them, they don't tend to notice that's a drop-off point until the next cycle. So that's why you saw all the dwarves going to the town centre rather than the ox cart that was basically next to them. So I've still got the mod for the fire giants because they look really cool that way. So we finally can get copper weapons in a bit. We're very, very close, but we do need the gold upgrade. The healing springs doesn't heal the Nidhogg, just so you're aware. But we're mostly healthy, so because there's only 2.5 minutes before Idri finishes the ball, we just want to go in there and with our army and just destroy all the towers and get control of it. And because we're in the heroic age, champion infantry needs to come in sooner rather than later. As we are pop capped as well. So here's a little thing. So on the path between where our hill fort and our longhouse is, there is a place with loads of gold, and you know, you might think that's great, but there is also loads of bears there. So what we are doing is we are going to one that's closer to the fighting, but where there's dwarven mines, where there's a lot more, there's less bears, so they're less likely to get damaged. So we are actually going to take our army, hopefully, and destroy the bears. We want to kind of set up a new base in the middle of it, just so we can protect our villagers a bit more. So setting up another hill fort to look after them is going to be great. But we are getting attacked from the top, which tends to be where they want to go now, which makes very little sense, but I'm not going to question it. So the bears will, like, stop caring for us for a while, after a while they will disappear and not attack our villagers anymore, but we need to make sure we are killing them and using our flaming weapons when they use theirs, because flaming weapons does more damage. It's not just against buildings, it's just more damage in general. So we are keeping everyone at bay because we've got a good mix of soldiers, but I did lose our temple, so we do need to build that up, and we do need to constantly make sure we are producing the amount of Ulfsarks and Throwing Axemen that we need, and also myth units, because we are fighting a lot, so we're getting a lot of favour, so we're up to 100 favour, and we're obviously capped at 100 favour, because you're not playing as Zeus. So keep on producing Throwing Axemen and Ulfsarks, especially after a big fight like that. You don't want to lose so many where you can't defend yourself anymore. You can always put a hill fort in the where the thingy is, where the forge is, but you don't have to. You don't need the upgrades for hell just at the moment for the giants. Because we're not producing them that many. Why is my phone just constantly ringing? Put that on silent, I do apologise. So they are coming through the middle. For some reason they are not getting rid of them back for the forge, which is fine. But they've got a good mix of soldiers, so we need to make sure that we are getting fire giants in, because they will do more damage against human units. Ulfsarks for the cavalry and Throwing Axemen for the heroes, and also for the other Throwing Axemen, and heroes for the myth units, or Jarls, depending on what you want to do. We can get copper weapons and mail. Again, we don't need Pierce, so we don't need to focus on that because they're not producing archers because the Norse doesn't have any. They do have a very strong army and a lot of them, so make sure you're using the Nidhogg and make sure you're using your myth units to full effect. Fire giants have a special ability which attacks multiple people, so always advised to go there and make sure it's alright. Make sure it's alright. The importance of bringing them down here is because we have got we've got the hill fort and we've also got the tower that is doing more damage against cavalry, and also the Throwing Axemen and the Ulfsarks. So even though I've basically lost this fight with the Nidhogg and the myth units, we should be able to hold out for a little bit longer. Keep on rebuilding the temple. Keep on rebuilding the things, your units. Get another longhouse out there to produce more more units, I imagine, or get more upgrades. You can see that although I got the upgrade for cavalry earlier, I've not actually progressed through that line, so it's not as big as a concern to me. Use the market to balance your resources. I know it's not the best thing. Levy longhouse soldiers is really useful because it allows us to produce units more quickly. So it costs a lot, but it's worth it because we've got 3 longhouses, or 2 on the go and 1 not. And it just allows us to replenish our forces more between each fight. So although we are producing fire giants and a lot of them, we sometimes just need more myth units out there. So we are producing frost giants as well. And we're just making sure we build the hill fort up, which isn't necessary, but it's always good to do. Just so it kind of stops them from going that way. They'll tend to go the top way now. But we are going to build a wall to deter them from going that way if possible. But we're very close to winning this. We've got 3 minutes left. And because we've got House of Room, just block off that other path for them. Again, we don't need copper shields or bronze shields, but just make sure you're looking after yourself with pop caps. Especially with you're so close to winning, you don't want to lose right towards the end. And at this point, we can't really lose. We just need to make sure that we're producing units consistently. We try and get that dock up, because at the end of the day, that dock on the left-hand side is not doing anything for us at this precise moment. You can get a town centre for more population. That is completely optional. Just keep an eye when your ox carts are, because you want to make sure that they're moving with the dwarfs. Yeah, at this point, we can't really lose at all. The soldiers that they're producing is not going to be enough to take the forge for the next 2 minutes. And even if they do take the forge, we've got a very strong base here. The only problem is, because we're not fighting, it does mean that we're not actually able to gain favour to produce more myth units. Because I've built that house wall and I've built all those buildings, it's going to be difficult for them to break through. They've done the undermine there, see? So they've just destroyed that section there. So they're coming through the right-hand side rather than the left, because they don't want to have that hill fort fire, which is understandable. I wouldn't either. And even though the forge is currently, not protected, they're attacking on the right side and at the top. They're not attacking from the left, so we will intercept them before they fight. So just make sure you are completely using all your houses and you're not pop capped, because they are destroying the houses. If you are struggling with favour, having heroes generates a small trickle of favour. I think it's 0.6 favour a second or something ridiculously slow, or a minute. It's not fast at all. So, but when they fight, that's when they get that favour. So this is just going to lead to the end, so you can see there's not much left of the video. So I'm going to say that hopefully this has helped you if you've been struggling with it. I know it's nearly double the length, and I do apologise. But if you enjoyed, my name's been That One Dude. We've been watching myself play Age of Mythology on the Fight the Forge. It's a very difficult mission. If you have been struggling, don't get discouraged. Hopefully this has helped. I hope you see in a different light, and try. The AI in the Golden Gift is a very weird AI. It will change every single time you play it. Same with the Atlanteans. The AI just goes wacko, especially on Titan difficulty. So if you are struggling, don't be afraid to restart and try again. But hopefully this has helped and you'll enjoy it next time. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye guys.